Hello, extraordinary lovers. This is Michael Gibson. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you here today because I'm going to introduce you to someone who I discovered along my journey in life, and she's amazing. And so I would love to introduce her to you. I want to share a little bit about her. So I want, and I'm not going to give you her name yet. First, I want you to know that she is, first off, a master NLP relationship and intimacy coach. She's based in Austin, Texas. So if you happen to be there, I think you'll be able to schedule something. She also utilizes the certifications, a master certification in NLP and timeline therapy and hypnosis to help conscious leaders express and embody their sexuality for deeper relationships, greater bliss, and a more fulfilling existence. She's amazing. I was in a salon with her. It was such an amazing blessing to be a part of that. And I would love to share her with you. Please welcome to the podcast, Hannah LeBrun.
Thank you for that warm introduction.
Well, welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, I'm super excited. Thanks for having me.
I've got lots of questions for you. So I think what we probably ought to do is start with the beginning. So Hannah, you didn't land on Earth yesterday. You've been here a minute, right? So tell us where, a little bit about your background, where you came from, and how you got involved in NLP and in the work that you currently do. Share a little bit about that, would you?
Oh yeah, it's quite a journey. Well, I'm from Austin. I was born in Japan, but my parents are from Maryland. So I joke I have East Coast blood, and yeah, it's fun. But I went to college in town. I was in the restaurant world for a long time and was an avid actor for a while too, and found coaching a few years ago after being in fitness for about 4-ish years. I got some success there. I won a few bodybuilding competitions, and I found myself I started doing it for the wrong reasons. So I was looking for a business coach, and I found my mentor, Deb Yeager, and her husband, Brandon Yeager. And I went through their 7-day NLP training, and it dramatically transformed my life. And I reestablished my relationship with my body and food. I was able to let go of binge eating and body dysmorphia. And from there on, I became committed to life coaching, and it just evolved into sexuality and relationships. And I'm obsessed. I eat this info, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm like, give me all the knowledge, give me all the tools. And it's been so incredibly rewarding to help others as well.
Well, so you mentioned body dysmorphia, and that is such a challenge for so many people, especially amongst young women. Share a little bit about your challenge there and how you overcame that. Would you mind doing that?
Of course. Yeah, it's, so many people struggle with it of all backgrounds. And growing up, it was weird because I would read things online, and it was the most dramatic description. Like, if you see yourself as 500 pounds, then you have body dysmorphia. So based on the information out there, I didn't think I had an issue, but I did struggle with my eating and my body image, and it was just kind of swept under the rug in my mind. And I would struggle with wearing shorts. I couldn't wear bikinis in high school. I couldn't wear tank tops. I struggled with my muscular arms and legs. And it just got to a point that after I started doing bodybuilding, my perception of my body changed. And post competition, it would just really get bad. When I started to gain a little bit of weight back, I would really, really struggle with how I looked because it distorts your perception. And I didn't have all the mindset tools until I discovered NLP to really overcome that and combat that.
Oh, wow. Share with us a little bit about how NLP made the difference for you.
Yeah. So essentially I had trauma in my body that I didn't realize is on the subconscious level. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know why consciously I was binging at night. And I had a different life coach that wasn't trained in these tools, and they were telling me to journal, and I was just like, well, consciously, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't know why my body is doing these things I don't want it to do. And with NLP, I was able to integrate the parts of me that were conflicting with the part of me that wanted to binge and the part of me that didn't. And then also let go of generational trauma and trauma from the womb that was affecting me in the present. And it really just like, it all became triggered at the right time. And when I found the coach, it was able to be released, and I found the right tools to finally uproot it from the subconscious level for good.
Wow. This is so important. I mean, I don't want to step over this at all. And something we probably ought to do is tell people what NLP actually means. We're throwing around this, you know, this nomenclature and all these things. What is NLP?
So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming.
Mm-hmm.
So it's essentially how to learn how to communicate with yourself, with your unconscious mind, and others to be able to achieve your desired goals and outcomes, and also reprogram your mind for what you actually want to create and attract and believe versus what you don't.
Right. Well, so this is amazing that this is the work that you're doing, because so many people in by the way, we are not aware of this, but programming is happening at all times from birth until death. And so the question is, who's doing the programming? And so NLP gives you the power to do the programming yourself and to detect and correct the programming that you don't want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then combined with tools like timeline therapy and hypnosis, it provides a whole package of breakthrough structure to not only clear out what was held in the body and the trauma held there, but focus on what you want moving forward and taking action to create that new neurology.
Right. I think that, you know, I've practiced NLP a lot in my life. In fact, I've never gone to the NLP training. However, I've been around trainers and transformational coaches and transformational organizations that utilize NLP. And one of my favorite of all time happens to be, or favorite people, coaches of all time, happens to be very much into NLP. Of course, that's Anthony Robbins. So, so that's a big, you know, yes. For what this technology has to offer. Now, when we talked earlier, you shared a little bit about some things that had happened in your life regarding your father, and I'd like you to share a little bit about this, because I know that a lot of people will resonate and relate even to some of the struggle that you had, and also the breakthroughs that you've come through.
So essentially, growing up, there was just a lot of programming and learning that went against having opinions, having feelings, having boundaries. For example, I would get my diary read, and then I would get punished for whatever I wrote if it wasn't pleasing to the readers. And essentially, like I always had a feeling growing up like the way I was treated wasn't right, and it wasn't healthy. And I just kind of had this feeling deep within, like, I don't know if I'm going to have a relationship with these people as an adult. I don't think I'm going to put up with this treatment. And eventually it came to a time when I was 22, I happened to be the last person they cut off. But right before my college graduation, I tried to put out a boundary with my stepmom and wanting to take some space before resolving an argument upon moving out. And the text that I sent was, "I'll call you when I'm ready." And then at that point, she dismantled the relationship. She told me she was done. She sent me voicemails that she was finished with me. And I kind of figured my dad would just follow suit, and like not hearing from him for my birthday and then getting my graduation invitation sent back was kind of the signals that they were done with me for good. But it was like a year later, I left a voicemail to let him know I was going to go live in Ecuador for a bit, and never got a response. That I decided to just let the relationship go, and doing so has been one of my greatest struggles, but also a really great gift. And I I put a video on it recently. I talked about being ghosted by my father on my Instagram, and I almost called it that as the title, but I decided to change it to how I
Being
gained my
ghosted. Hold
freedom.
on, hold on. Let me stop you there. Being ghosted by your father. Being ghosted by your father. I wonder if anybody else can relate to that, to being ghosted by somebody in their life that was supposed to be important, that really has a very close, even blood tie, and then nothing. What does that feel like?
It's a mind fuck. I mean,
Yeah.
um, because like for a year I was like, do I reach out? No, I don't want to reach out. I'm the daughter. And I finally decided, well, I don't want to be 90 on my deathbed, wondering what if I had just made, been the bigger person, whatever that means. If I had just made a move. And so I decided I would call him, and after that wasn't returned, I decided it was time to move on. Um, but yeah, I mean, I started struggling with alcohol after that. I had never really struggled with alcohol. And then every time I did drink, I would overdo it. And there were just some dangerous scenarios I put myself in, and finally got a wake up call from a boat party. And that went really, really poorly. And yeah, I decided to stop drinking. And I don't, I mean, I'll have a drink a year, but I don't drink anymore. And that's actually improved my life too.
Good for you. I gave up alcohol. I think it was July 10th. And, I saw this guy online, James Swanick, who's this Australian guy, is going around. You don't have to drink to have fun. And he's really actually quite brilliant. And I gave it up, and I realized not very long after giving it up, within 10 days, that there was an addiction physically to the chemical alcohol. And today I don't have that addiction. So I'm not one of those who shows up in meetings and says I am something I'm not. But I understand why people do that. However, I do realize that the chemical has addictive qualities. And that addictive quality is called dopamine. It triggers dopamine. So if you're struggling with that, know that you can be free of it. And also the other thing that I noticed is that it numbed me. It made me numb to my feelings, to my heart feelings, like the heartstrings, made me numb to feeling love, made me numb to feeling pain. And boy, when that comes up in that situation, you may find yourself with a real struggle on your hands, and you may need some support around that. In the event that you decide to quit drinking, I recommend it. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that's a huge part of transformation for a lot of people, Hannah, really. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, so your father ghosted you. You made some really hard and courageous choices, and now you're carving out and creating a life for yourself, and you're helping others, which is really why you're here. Because the Extraordinary Lovers podcast, we like to look at things from the perspective of here's what's ordinary and here's what's extraordinary. Right. And so what are some things that you would consider to be extraordinary in some of the ways that you're able to experience love and sensuality, sexuality?
Good question. Oh, well, I mean, I feel like when I do commit to someone, I'm one of those people that it's go big or go home. So it's like, how can I show up for this person? I have so much love to give, and I will bake them cookies, and I will like plan super romantic dates, and just go above and beyond. And it's actually sometimes in the past it's been a fault. I've become so in the relationship that I let go of other relationships or other priorities and stuff, because I do love to love. Like, it's so much fun.
It could be addictive too. That could have some dopamine releases as well, and add to that oxytocin, which that's how you feel love. You know, um, Yeah, I love that. Well, that's great. And are you currently in a relating? Are you connected and in a relationship right now?
Um, yeah, no.
Oops, I outed you. That's okay. So for any of you who are interested, no, I'm kidding. We don't do that. I've got her email address. No, I don't. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Um,
That
so
doesn't mean there aren't dates on the calendar.
exactly. Yes. Well, this is really interesting, and it's important because I think oftentimes what we do is we find ourselves in places that seem to be like the cultural norm. Like this is what we normally do, right? That's what I mean by cultural norm. And when it becomes extraordinary is when it becomes really, this is all it extraordinary means, is when it becomes memorable. Like
Hmm.
this is memorable to me. I can relate to that. You know, I say extraordinary lovers all the time. Well, what's an extraordinary this? And I say, well, what's memorable to you? When you have someone who bakes cookies, you know, that's memorable. So something that I do from time to time with my beloved is I'll remember something that she has as a routine in the morning. Like she goes and she gets hot water and she puts a little apple cider vinegar in it. And so every now and then, what I'll do is I'll take that and I'll put it in a really beautiful cup, and I'll put it on a like a special little plate, and I'll have a little cover on top of it with a note that says for
Oh,
you, my love, and it's memorable.
I love that.
Just a little bit extra. That's all it takes to make something extraordinary.
Oh,
So
yeah. I'm
yeah.
all about that super sweet, unexpected, sentimental thing.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I wanted to ask you is because you're doing a really important work in the world today. Um, and I'd like you to talk a little bit about that. And I also like to share with us what makes your work so effective. You know, tell us a little bit about that nuance that really does make it extraordinary.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I mean, um, I do want to add, kind of backtrack. I did go 3.5 years without sex.
Oh no, say it isn't so.
So I was actually blocked with relationships and sexuality. And then this year I started dating again last winter. So it's been like a year since I started opening myself up to love again. Um, but that's kind of part of what got me into this journey is the work that I do. And I I only admitted that I went through emotional abuse as a child like a year and a few months ago. Like I was in denial about that for so long. I just did not want to confront that pain. And once I started doing the work in my master's training, I cleared out so much with relationships. And afterwards, I continued so that I could, okay, how can I create the kind of friendships I want to have? How can I create the kind of co-working relationships I want to have? And like, let's start from the bottom up because I wasn't taught how to have really healthy, genuine, communicative relationships with honoring each other's boundaries and consent and feelings and opinions and discussion in healthy ways. So, going through that work, it allowed me to reignite my sexuality. And what I found when I did last winter, every area of my life improved: my health, my finances, my relationships, my career, and my confidence. And I was like, okay, I'm addicted. I have to help everyone with this. And so I utilized a lot of my tools to help people just break through the paradigms that are keeping them stuck. So a lot of it, the root is our minds. Our mind controls our reality. It controls our bodies, our behavior. And when we can tap into those resources and change the way our bodies work for us and make them work in the way that we want and let go of the beliefs holding us back or the negative emotions or the past traumas, then we can really create anything we want.
Absolutely. Wow. Well, and so now that's the work that you do. And so
Mm-hmm.
your coaching, it inhabits your coaching, it inhabits your way of life. It has become part of how you show up in the world. What really makes your work effective?
Yeah, so it's going down to the subconscious level, and it's like really letting go of things for good. It works quickly, it lasts, and also that accountability and that support of creating the new behavior and the new action to support the new neurology. And one thing I pride myself in is really holding space for my clients to open up about really anything, and especially because sexuality can be so vulnerable, and a lot of people can struggle with these themes and these topics, and coming at a space of non-judgment at all, because there's no such thing as normal. Like,
What's one of the biggest challenges that you run across in your coaching that people seem to have a common theme? I guess that's the best way to ask it. What's the common theme that you see amongst your coaching clients as far as challenges go?
yeah, so the common themes I see is mismatched libido in partners. That's one. Also, inability to orgasm or struggle with orgasming too quickly, more in the masculine energies and bodies. Also, just lots of shame and uncertainty around how someone's body is working, and shame around being sexual, embodying their sexuality, touching themselves. That could, for some people, they can't even do that. They were taught that was wrong, or it's in their belief structure to believe that's wrong, and not having a relationship with their body that's really suitable to their goals and how they want to feel.
That seems to be a major struggle. Um, do you find that? I mean, I get this all the time from men. What about erectile dysfunction and those kinds of things? Do those ever show up as well?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, do you have a pro tip? I'm going to pick one of these. I'm going to pick one and ask you to pro tip fix it for us. The mismatched libido. Like one wants it, the other one doesn't, right? What are some like, what's your pro tip for that? How would you solve that problem if that was before you?
Oh yeah. So first, I have to say it's super context dependent and based on the couple and their goals. I do find commonly, I mean, the first step in my mind is letting go of the identity and letting go of the shame.
Mm.
So letting go of any negative emotions about what's currently happening so that you can focus on the future and what you want to create. And a lot of times people can create this identity behind it or this belief, and that can keep them stuck by itself. So changing the belief and becoming open to exploration, depending on the couple. Sometimes scheduling intimate time is good. Sometimes it's better to schedule not intimate time and then they mismatch. So I think it's really just creating patience and kindness and understanding, and also letting go of love, like the Tantra principles of letting go of the outcome and letting sexual experience together being more about, enjoying each other's company and creating whatever pleasure is to be created and honoring whatever emotions come up.
Mm.
Because, and I say this to my followers, but every emotion is beautiful, just like an emotional rainbow. Every color is valid and needed to create
Mm.
a rainbow.
Yeah, I completely agree. Isn't it so strange that we don't honor our anger, or we don't honor our frustration or our piss off, and that we don't honor those emotions that sometimes feel thick and dense and difficult, and we tend to gravitate towards the happy feelings and bliss and joy. That's what we all want to feel, and every now and then we get those gut wrenching experiences that really have that can play havoc on your mind first off, and then on your relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And so mastery of these emotions and treating them and honoring them just as you would a beautiful rainbow, right? That is
Yeah.
such a beautiful analogy. Thank you for that.
Yeah. And why not channel that? one of my most favorite scenes. It was from feeling kind of like some aggravation that needed to be released. And I just proposed this idea to my partner, and we carried it out, and I felt so amazing that you can channel different emotions to a scene with your partner, maybe get a little kinky and use that to your advantage and use it to overcome some things.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's great if you have a partner who's, who's all in for that.
Yeah,
That
helps.
That helps, right? Definitely. Well, and I've asked this question to so many people. I don't know how many thus far, but the question around pleasure is, and again, this is about being memorable. The question I ask is, of all the times you've ever had sex, what percentage would you say was a level 10, was unbelievably unforgettable? Wow. Right. What percentage would you say was a level 10? So I'm asking you.
Yeah. Oh man, a level 10. So that's hard to say. I mean, definitely not where I'd want it to be. But I kind of have an interesting story around that.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, this is NSFW. um, so actually, my first 5 years of having sex were very painful. So I actually had a physiological thing. I'll just leave it at that. And I needed to get surgery when it was discovered by my fifth doctor when I was 20. So um, that's one thing I do love to help people and help women with is learning how to speak up for themselves in the bedroom, because there was a lot of times that I just was not enjoying myself, and because of my beliefs, I kept pursuing. So the percentage is not as high as I want it to be, so I'm catching up.
Good. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, see, and that's the question that I like to ask, because so often people don't really think about that. They don't think about their history and go, yeah, how many times was it just absolutely amazing? I just don't remember. I asked this question to over 300 men and women back in 2017, and I still have a survey. If you want to take the survey, I'll give you the link. But I have a survey that I did for men and women. And I asked similar questions, but that question yielded some really strange, or not strange, some interesting results. I don't want to call them strange. Men said about 30% of the time they were having extraordinary experiences, a level 10. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. That's pretty low. And then I asked women that same question, and they came back saying 2%. That was the average. And I went, whoa. Okay, we have a really disparate number here.
Yeah.
And it's part of what launched my programs and my desire to not do this with it, right? I didn't want to bring men down and women up. I wanted to bring everybody up. I was like, there's a way to do this, not this, right? So so it has been a very important work, mission is a better word for me, to help people along those lines. And I feel like our work overlaps a lot. It really does. I feel like that what you're talking about here is being able to speak your truth inside of the bedroom or wherever you do it, is really important. So thank you for that. Share with us a little bit about what's next for you. I've got your website written down. I want to share that with everybody, but what's next for you? What's happening now?
Yeah, so I just recently launched my Facebook group, the Conscious Sex Collective. So in that group, we do more sex salons on different topics and with different guest speakers from time to time. And I'm looking forward to fostering a community of like-minded people to have a safe space that's supportive, and they can talk about all of their sexual whatever. And yeah, I'll be doing some meetups too in Austin, and also want to do some trainings on sexuality and NLP as well moving forward.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. And your website is hannahlebrun.com, spelled
Yes.
Lebrun. Hannah's easy.
Yes.
hannahlebrun.com. And then you can also find her on Instagram and pretty much everywhere, social media, at the Hannah LeBrun. And of course, if you're using Facebook, it's going to be slash. But Instagram is the @ symbol, and you can find her there. I highly recommend that you get into community with this beautiful, beautiful, powerful woman.
Thank you.
You will not be disappointed, and I think she has a lot to offer the world. So thank you so much for being on the podcast. I really enjoyed this, and I look forward to being in community with you again, and perhaps on another salon. Thank you so much, Hannah.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure and an honor.
Well, thank you. Everybody, we will see you again real soon. Remember, go to sextalkradionetwork.com to see any of our other podcasts. And we'll see you next week. An Extraordinary Lovers Podcast.